I saw the live button go in the upper right, so we should be. There we are.
Hey, we are on. We actually made it on time.
Yes, we did. And it's actually 12 p.m. Brilliant. All right. We're feeling pretty proud of ourselves.
Yeah. I wanted to do something and it didn't work. And I'm just going to try to figure it out.
For next time?
Yeah. Listen, I'm trying to beef up this show a little bit, right? It can't just be our pretty faces on here.
It's not, we're not entertaining enough.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But we are going to get some going. And I wanted to show you too, because I was all jazzed up about this new software program and I thought I got it all kind of tricked out and everything with like things. And listen, I promise you, we will have a legitimate show by the end of the week. But I kind of wanted to part of what was so awesome today was I was discovering how important it is to actually learn something new and come out of your comfort zone a little bit. And that's what I've been doing over the last week or so, is just kind of going over and learning pretty much a new language in software and different things on how to capture feeds and really kind of snazz up, just basically these live feeds and stuff like that, especially for our Zoom semi-private sessions that we've been doing lately, and being able to transmit images where I can actually have the work laid on the screen.
That would be cool.
Different things. So learning that stuff has been my new project for the last week or two, and it's quite interesting. I've exhausted my mental capacity for the day, I'll tell you that. But it's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is the right time to do it, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, what other time do you have to be able to, we kind of got forced into this online training business. Something that we've always talked about, we understood that was kind of like the evolutionary ladder in the fitness industry. We kind of put it off. And then this COVID-19 thing happened, and all of a sudden it was like, you need to learn how to use all these different platforms with coding and HTML and
right now.
Yeah,
immediately
on tutorial after tutorial after tutorial. But the neat thing about that is, it's filled my days with inspiration and has given me kind of this new respark in an industry that we've been in for the last 20 years. And listen, anytime that you can find something new in your own industry that you've been in for 20 years and then kind of revitalize it, that's a pretty awesome thing. I mean, it comes rare where, nobody's reinventing the bench press or the chest press or anything anytime soon. And we try, you see it all the time online with some stupid guy online trying to do a chest press off a stability ball while standing and spinning discs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they call it something new. It's not new. You're pushing, but yeah, we try. But this online thing has definitely kind of sparked this new kind of idea around the fitness industry and how things are being delivered and services. And it's neat. It really is neat. And it really is like I'm learning a brand new language, so.
Well, listen, that actually segues into something that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit today. The first thing I want to talk about is, how is it that in a time of pandemic and social distancing, you have managed to get a fade haircut? I don't understand this. I'm flummoxed right now. How is this happening?
Listen, I was going to be slightly upset if this interview was going to go on one more minute and you didn't notice my haircut.
Oh, I noticed it earlier. I just was waiting for this. I noticed it, I think maybe even this morning or yesterday or something, but I wanted to wait for the opportune moment to ask, how did that happen?
All right. So listen, I had a large discussion with my wife.
Okay. So when you say large discussion, does this mean that your wife was telling you, you need to cut the salad off your head? Is that really how the discussion went? Or was it you saying?
It was the opposite way around.
Okay.
was, I need to cut the salad off my head, and I'm not going to be able to last till June
Right.
if we any type of mental health to exist within the confines of the house.
Right. Right.
I need to cut this thing. So, my barber, Francisco, great guy. He actually was just about to open up his barber shop the week we got this home.
Yeah, I had a haircut scheduled like the week after like the week that we got closed down.
Yeah. So I've known him for a really long time. I'm really close with him and stuff like that. So I had a discussion with him earlier this week, and I said, "Hey, listen, are you cutting hair, and what's the protocols that you're using to cut hair?" And I thought about it a long time, and I just basically weighed out the pros and the cons, and I went with my mental health is much more important. And if I have to go with this shaggy haircut for another month, I'm going to kill myself. So he came over in the backyard yesterday and like a full hazmat suit, like
Nice.
gloves, the whole 9 yards, face mask, cap, the whole thing. And then I was in the same thing. Now, here's the thing. Great idea, great protocol. And I really, really thank him a lot for taking all those precautions. And, he cleaned equipment and stuff like that right in front of me. It was a really cool setup, actually. So if anybody's interested, let me know. But he comes out and he does that, but it was like 90 degrees out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hot yesterday.
It was like the hottest haircut I've ever had in my entire life, because I'm sitting there with a mask on and everything. And I'm like, it was like an Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, but he probably banged that out pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, it took him 20 minutes and he was in and out, and we did the elbow bump.
I'm a little disappointed. I'm gonna admit I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping that you were gonna go for like the horse shack. Like I wanted to see Colin Kaepernick. I'm a little disappointed.
No, I can't do it. I really can't.
I'm doing the opposite. I'm going for the Q-tip look. I'm just going to be all hair and and nothing else.
Yeah, and white too. You got the whole.
I know I said Q-tip. I mean, I wasn't just talking about the size. I'm talking about the color.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Because I was going to bust your ass right around 12:10.
Yeah, for the hair. So I got you first.
Yeah, you got me first. You got me first for sure.
That's the way you got to do it. You got to control it, so then you don't get taken behind the shed. All right. So, but you were talking about. So this takes me into something actually that I wanted to talk about, which is. So you're talking about going into kind of some unknown territory, jumping out of your comfort zone, exploring some new things. And last week we talked about the characteristics of a good coach. So what are the characteristics of a good student? So if you are right now kind of immersing yourself in the context of learning and being a student and kind of growing outside what you are normally comfortable doing, what are the characteristics of a good student? And I think let's kind of relate it back to health and wellness. But where would you stand on that? What are some of the characteristics you would point out?
Good student. Well, listen, being a good listener, I think is kind of like a big part of doing that. The other thing is being able to trust your coach and kind of let go of the reins a little bit. Obviously be clear with what your goals are and what your needs are. And I think that those should definitely be met. But be open to the fact that the approach to getting those things may not be what you had pictured when you first walked in the door. That right. There may be another picture there that you didn't consider. And that's when your coach kind of comes in and really trusting the fact that whatever your coach's plan is going to be something that was well thought out, that it was well researched, and that was taking consideration that your goals and needs were in consideration when he or she formulated that plan. So that would be the kind of the number one thing for me is let go of the reins a little bit, and even you can come in with your goals, you can come in with your needs and stuff like that, but realize that the approach may not be what you've been accustomed to, and that there may be other things. The other thing is embrace the suck. Embrace the suck a little bit. You shouldn't be good at everything that you do when you're in the gym. um, there should be a certain percentage of exercises that you perform that are foreign to you, that make you feel uncoordinated, that make you feel like you're inadequate in that area. And that's when, it doesn't need, I'm a firm believer you got to kind of balance out the things that you're good at with things that you're not good at. It can't just be all like, I'm going to attack this person's weak. I've identified this person's weak pattern, and that's all I'm going to give them. I'm going to things that strengthen the weakest pattern. And I know coaches like that do that a lot. I think that it's a diminishing return. You may get some good results in the first week or two of training, but if you're coming in day after day and you're just failing at everything that you're doing at you, then that just sucks. That's a bad place to be in.
I think the other question mark is, what's the motivation of the coach under those circumstances? Is that really about the coach, or is it about the student? If the coach is really only focusing on areas of weakness, is that about the coach's ego wanting to demonstrate mastery over the student?
Oh, possibly. And I think that happens quite often too. As coaches, we have this idea that, we can easily fall in the trap to start to train our clients the same way we train ourselves, I think. And that's an easy trap to fall into. You just got to have the kind of foresight to be able to identify when that happens. And listen, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of training my clients sometimes the same way I train myself, and I have to kind of check myself a little bit.
And I think we both had a number of conversations over the years where expectations are very dangerous, where as coaches, we've fallen into the trap of expecting people to train themselves the way that we train ourselves. And that's a losing proposition for the coach and for the student. And we've made that mistake.
Oh. And I think it's okay to make that mistake. I think where it's not okay for the coach is to identify that you are making mistakes and not make changes around it.
Right.
This is just the way it is.
There's got to be some inspection. There's got to be some self-examination around that.
Right.
On the coach's side.
From both sides too. And that's what I was getting at when I was saying, like, listen, you can come in with your goals, you can come in with your needs. But the approach may not be in the framework of what you pictured. Be open to a different approach, because you'll listen. 9 times out of 10, I think most people would be surprised if they allow themselves to be that open-minded when they come into facilities, whether it's gym facilities where you're strength training, or even dance studios and different things like that. Whatever your form of exercise is. Just kind of be open to different approaches, because we listen, there are tons of strength and conditioning coaches, and they come from all different backgrounds. So of course there's not going to be a cookie cutter approach. We try, there's certification programs and stuff like that try to cookie cut and create frameworks for that. But I feel like, listen, one of the things that I feel like has been so successful with the training program at Arena Fitness has been that I've taken things from organizations like NASM, ACE, ACSM, and different things like that, and even different strength and conditioning coaches, and it's a melting pot, and I always have gone through the situation of, I don't care if NASM does it this way. I have to see that it works for my clients and for the people that are going through this program, and I'll try it out. It's not that I won't try it out, but when I see different things happening, that's when I make my adjustments, and I let the clients actually ultimately form the final product. And that changes from year to year. Sometimes we've had clients come in through, like 2017, we had a lot of lower back issues, but 2018, we had more neck and shoulder issues, and we had to kind of adjust the program accordingly. So, kind of going back to it, your original question is, the student coach relationship and the things that make a good coach are also sometimes the things that make a good student, and vice versa. The things that make a good coach are constantly coming from this student mentality, where it's like they're constantly learning and taking new things. It's the same thing for the student. The student should always come into a facility, in my opinion, trying to learn something new about how this thing called our human body work, so that I can go out into my world and operate more efficiently so I can get more done. Whether that's taking care of my kids more efficiently so that I'm not, listen, Ava's getting to be 60 pounds, she wants to be tossed into the pool right now like crazy. And if I don't understand how to control my body properly and do the right strength training things, I can hurt myself throwing. And she is solid muscle, so it's like, yeah, yesterday we were in the pool and she was asking me to throw her. And it's like, I was pulling in all my techniques to be able to, just like a squat to press, to throw her in the air. And listen, that doesn't end with one throw.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was like 30 throws there.
All right. Right.
And if I didn't take in all my exercises over the last 20, 30, 40 years as from a standpoint of student, then how do I take what I learned in the gym and transfer it over to something as simple as throw my child up in the air in the pool?
Yeah, I think that's important because as a coach, if you have a template that is carved into stone that you go through with every client that comes in, and you run into something unexpected, which you're going to, if you take 10 people, they're going to go down 10 different paths. So there's always going to be variation there. But if you've got your methodology carved in stone and you run into something unexpected, you can't force the client to conform to the program. That doesn't work. So you have to have the adaptability and the experience to observe what's taking place. And then, try something. You might even, and I've seen you do this before, and I've done it, and I've seen Will and Stacy and Alina do it. I've seen everybody, Max, do it, where it's like, I'm going to try something here, and I think there's a relational component that has to be there. There's an element of trust, because I think the coach has to have the confidence to be able to say, I'm not entirely sure. But I have an idea based upon your circumstances and my experience. Let's try this. Now, obviously, you want to do that within the context of something that's safe, but I think that there has to be an element of trust there. And then there has to be that adaptability, because if you're locked into the way that you normally do things, and then you're forcing the client to conform to your template, because damn it, I spent 3 months on this and I went through this certification and this certification and this certification. I don't think that's beneficial. And so to that end, what you're saying about taking bits of information from multiple programs and sources, and then having the ability to synthesize that information coherently and then deliver it, I think is an effective and a necessary component for a high level coach. And then the trust, on the student side, on the client side, has to be there, that, hey, this guy has my best interest in mind, and I trust his background. Even if we run into something where we don't know exactly where to go, we're going to go through this together.
Right. And listen, I don't think that rule stops at coaches. I think that's an example of a good teacher, a good mentor,
Yeah.
Multiple different things. I think that should just be a general kind of, I never want somebody just to regurgitate whatever they learned in a textbook. I want them to take the information and disseminate it and experiment, see what works.
And make it their own.
Make it their own.
So if you use martial arts as an analogy, because both of us come from a martial arts background, if everybody delivered all of the techniques exactly in the same way, none of it would work. None of it would ever work, because it would be like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Right. So you have to take the concept, and then you have to apply the concept within the framework of your abilities, or discard the concept, because it may not fall within your scope of abilities.
Listen, I mean, one of the things that that's a perfect example of martial arts. You know, how many times have you seen an armbar shown 17,000 different ways? You know, it's it's amazing how many different ways, depending on who's instructing the armbar, that you can kind of sit back and kind of go, oh my God, like I've seen this shown. I know what it is. It's one of the most basic moves in jujitsu, but you know, you talk to 10 different instructors and you're gonna get a new detail out of each one of those.
Yeah, and using martial arts as a background for this next question, because again, you and I come from that background, and so when you go into a martial arts studio of any kind, whether it's boxing or traditional martial arts or jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or whatever, when the coach tells you to do something, you do it, right? You don't ask a million questions. Now here's the thing, that's not necessarily always comparable to the training environment like we have at Arena Fitness. It's a different setting. So where's the line from a student perspective, so that students will understand, where's the line between questioning and challenging? So if you're a student and you want to understand, but how do you kind of distinguish whether or not a student or a client is questioning as a means of curiosity, or just repeatedly challenging because maybe they have this conception in their mind coming into it? Maybe they have their methodology, carved out in stone, and you're deviating from it and they're uncomfortable with it. And so they're just challenging. From a student perspective, how do you balance I don't want to be a robot and just do whatever this guy tells me to do. I want to be engaged. I want to be heard, but I don't want to be a pain in the ass at the same time. Like, where's that line?
I mean, for me, if I was the student and I was coming in asking questions, listen, I think I'm probably the worst student, because I'm going to come in with some preconceived notions of how strength training should be done, just because I've been in the industry for 20 years. I think it's important for a student to ask a coach why they're doing the things that they're doing in a session, so that they get an idea of the ideology behind the coach. Now, if the coach is not able to answer that and they get defensive, then you're always going to be in this kind of challenging kind of scenario and never.
Right. So that's interesting. So the difference between questioning and challenging oftentimes will come from the context or the mindset that the coach has.
Absolutely.
Because if they're going to immediately react to any sort of question, then that's really about the coach's ego or the coach's unwillingness to field a question or lack of flexibility, not about the curiosity of the student.
Listen, yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, you've been strength training with personal trainers for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I know that you coming in for the first time, I almost expect you to come in with some sort of challenging kind of questions towards my methodology or way of training, because I know that sometimes it can be different from the mainstream. And if I hear that somebody has been training with a trainer, I have that expectation, and I prepare myself for why we do the things we do, so that they understand the ideology from the creator. I think that that's important to do that. I don't think that there's anything wrong with a student coming in with a challenging context.
No, I don't either. I think it's a smart thing for them to do. I think they should be open, but skeptical. Maybe skeptical is not the right word. Maybe questioning. Curious, open but curious.
Listen, for how many years? When we first opened up,
yeah,
years, where they would come in, they do a tour of the gym, we tell them how we do things, and then what do? We send them downstairs or to a place across the street and go, hey, before you make a final decision, go over there,
go check them out
for it, be skeptical.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing with my own fitness and my own health. Healthcare is the main thing, right? I go get an examination on my knee because I think my knee's all wonky. And I don't stop there. I'm skeptical of anything, I don't care how good the referral is or what basketball star this person saw. I'm still going to get a second opinion. And I think you should do that with coaches too as well. You should have a healthy amount of skepticism when you are talking to a coach or any practitioner, whether it's a chiropractor, whether it's a physical therapist, orthopedic surgeon, general practitioners. Take your information at the end. That's the unfortunate situation we have in this country as far as healthcare. I don't know if you want to go down that.
Well, not right now, but I would later. But I was just going on a different episode. But one thing I was going to say that I think is kind of interesting is you were talking about how you show up as a student, right? Mm-hmm. For me, it's interesting because when I go to another studio, which I do quite frequently because I live 20 miles away from both of our locations. And so when I'm at home and I want to have a place to train, I go to a studio in Pasadena or something, right? And I do whatever they tell me to do. When I go to somebody else's studio, I do, even if it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, I do it. But part of the reason that I can do that is because I know that I have the bodily capability to protect myself even when I'm being told to do something that is utterly irresponsible and unprofessional, which kind of segues into my next topic, which is what's the dumbest thing that you see being done on a regular basis in the fitness business right now?
Oh, kettlebell swings by far. Kettlebell swings.
Okay, so under what setting though? Kettlebell just in general or in what capacity?
I think in any capacity. I think that the kettlebell as a tool is underutilized in a lot of ways and completely bastardized in others. I think that there's just this idea at any fitness level, you should just go off and just start doing swings, and that there should be no type of on-ramp kind of progression towards that type of form of exercise. But yeah, for sure, kettlebell swings is at the top of my list as far as like the most bastardized exercise that I've ever seen done in the fitness industry. And then listen, if you were to ask me 10 years ago, I think the usage of the balance tools was
the functional training concept that got hijacked and then turned into an abomination where you had somebody standing on one leg on a stability ball with doing a diagonal chop with a med ball hopping. I mean, it just became something that the concept was sound. And then what happens is the fitness industry takes it and then kills it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And listen, functional training is definitely still sound. They just bastardized.
The concept is sound. The delivery is flawed. So for me, the dumbest thing that I see being done in the fitness industry is very much in line with what you're talking about. And you and I have had offline conversations about this. And it's strength training in a large group setting. Oh. And oftentimes kettlebells are a part of that. Mm-hmm. But I've told you, and I do go and visit other studios. I do that because I need to work out myself, and I don't want to train myself. And sometimes I want to go to other places. And I went to a studio, which I won't name because they were really nice people. And I had one really good body weight workout there. And then the next time I came, it was a large group strength training class. And there were about 30 people in the class. And we would alternate on assault bikes for a minute, and then we'd go do a strength exercise and assault bikes and strength exercise. There were two groups of people, 15 of us on assault bikes, 15 people out doing the strength exercises. So each minute we would switch places, right?
God.
So there were 30 people in this room. So the minute would come, go, and there would be people crashing into each other, like running to the bike, running. And then I would look and I would see from a distance, I would see people grabbing kettlebells and starting to do kettlebell swings because that was one of the exercises. So people had no concept of sphere of safety, right? So when you do a kettlebell, you need to be aware of there being a circle of space around you because you're swinging this kettlebell. Rounded spines, technique was not good. another exercise, I had to grab 100-pound barbell and lie on the ground
That's
and
you.
do a chest press.
You
Okay.
had to do it yourself.
I had to get myself on the ground with a 100-pound barbell.
Yeah,
And
you were
so
lifting.
I like tipped it up on its end, right? And then I laid down on the ground and tipped it over onto me while there are 28, 29 other people running around swinging kettlebells, doing 50-pound dumbbells. It was insanity. And
Oh my God.
so here's what I'm getting at. Strength training is really, really beneficial. Group training is very, very beneficial. But I think that when you're mixing real strength training with a group setting, that is like dynamite and a match, because you're asking people to do complex mechanical moves under heavy load in a group setting with very little supervision and no previous training. There was one instructor.
For volume too.
Yeah, for volume. So what I'm getting at is it's a movement that I've seen taking place in the industry more and more lately, which is large group training with heavy weights, and it can be done in a way probably that is beneficial, but it's a red flag. And it was just that class was so irresponsible to me. It was scary. I was looking around going, my God, I can't believe they're letting people do this. I was fine because, I've spent enough time doing what I do to be able to handle those sorts of responsibilities mechanically. But that's one of the things that I think that is on the fitness side of things, on the fitness business side of things, not terribly responsible to do.
No. And listen, I mean, quick question. Did you ever feel like you were in danger yourself?
I felt like I was in danger myself of being hit by somebody swinging a weight, and I even felt uncomfortable. I'm experienced. I'm not super cool, ninja guy, but I'm experienced enough. I know what I'm doing. I was nervous, like pulling that 100-pound dumbbell or barbell onto myself to do chest press. That's not a ton of weight, but that is not a great position to be in doing that while people are running around. Somebody could have knocked that over and it could have fallen right across my forehead.
Oh, for sure.
I felt unsafe based upon the frenzy of the chaotic activity around me with one person supervising. So it was just a weird experience, and something that I think from a consumer perspective um, is you should be aware of and be cautious of, because it is the workouts are sexy. The people were really cool. They're nice people. It was just, from my perspective, just irresponsible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think that the difficult, this kind of circles back to, balancing needs with wants from the student perspective and the client's perspective is, listen, I want to be able to do strength training, but can you give it to me for an affordable price too as well?
Totally.
And that's kind of what the business operator kind of has to deal with in those circumstances. So listen, I want to believe that if you were to ask those strength and conditioning coaches in a private room whether or not that program was a responsible program, I think that you would get two different answers depending on who you were talking to, what hat that person was wearing. If that person was wearing the business owner hat, who is worried about their bottom line and concerned about rent and making certain numbers and different things like that,
which is something that you and I understand.
which is what we understand. You got to pack your classes with 30, 40, depending on what location you're at in, Pasadena or, West Hollywood or whatever it is. And you have to make a decision on, if this is what people want and I'm able to make my bottom line, I'm going to give it to them. That is how I feel that those decisions are made when you see classes like that being done. But if you were to take that same person and have them put on a strength and conditioning hat on and answer that same question, I want to believe that 99% of the time that they're going to give you a different answer. They're going
Yeah.
to they're going to give you the honest answer.
If you were to ask them, what's the ideal setting, and what's the ideal kind of delivery of the service to somebody, would that model be the best delivery of the service to that person? I think most strength and conditioning coaches would probably say no. And listen, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to have a lot of different opinions on this, and that's fine. There are probably people out there that would disagree heartily with what I'm saying, but I was scared for the people in that class, man. I was just scared because I was like, my God, it was just chaos. And I've seen that more often than I would care to in different classes.
I got a follow up question with that. Is you ask what's the most bastardized exercise that you've seen in the fitness industry? What's the worst piece of equipment you've ever bought?
Oh, dude, remember the strength, the axle? Remember the axle thing? Yeah, do you remember that? That was ridiculous. And I want to say that we spent $350 to $400 on that thing, and then we offloaded it. Do you remember? Yeah. We sold it to somebody else for half the price. We have made a career on buying equipment new and selling it used for 50% off.
If we got lucky with the 50%.
We believe in buying high and selling low. Yes. That's our investment strategy. But do you remember that thing? That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I've forgotten about it. So my favorite one was, do you remember, and this was like the commercial version of the Total Body Gym, the gravity machine?
Yeah.
And just, who was one of your friends that got on?
Yeah, it was Jeff Hare, and I hope to God he's going to watch this later on, because I'm going to call him out right now, because we still laugh about that. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Talk about this piece of equipment.
Oh yeah, that was, well, first of all, that thing was made out of bamboo and resin to keep the parts together.
It was Norris Total Body Gym. It was like straight from the infomercial.
Yeah. Now we went and we got a commercial version later on. Remember that? The gravity machine, which was pretty cool. But the home version of that thing was made out of tinfoil and rubber bands. And yeah, Jeff almost killed himself on that. And that was one of the scariest and funny. I don't know if I've ever laughed that hard.
Listen, I'm upset we didn't have a video camera.
I mean, this predated iPhones.
Yes.
That predated iPhones. And just to make clear, we made sure that he was breathing before we started laughing. I mean, we're not monsters.
Yeah. It took a half a second for you to just be like, yeah, he's fine. All right.
Yeah, he's fine. And then I didn't breathe for half an hour. But yeah, I would say the axle, and then that, and we've gotten plenty of other things since then too.
Oh yeah.
Exercise intensity. I want to touch on that real quick. I'm still tired from the workout that I did this morning at 9 o'clock. Okay. And I think part of the thing is that right now I'm basically every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock when I do my live class, that's really the only intense workout that I'm doing right now. The rest of the week I'm doing moderate exercise, kind of moderate intensity, and then lower intensity exercise. Under normal conditions, let's say that first. Under normal conditions, what do you feel is a good mix of high intensity, moderate intensity, and low intensity exercise, just as a kind of a general guideline for people?
Listen, that is something that I've kind of tinkered with so much over the years with my own fitness, as far as like, how much can my body actually withstand of the high versus the low? And it's actually a pretty difficult question to answer in general terms, right? It always kind of feeds back to, what is it that you're trying to do? But if I was going to answer that in general terms, I would say, you would need to, do some sort of low intensity movement the majority of time. So for instance, maybe 70% of the time, 60 to 70% of the time, most people should operate in this low to moderate intensity thing. The other percentage, the other 40% should be a mixture of high to medium intensities. So the overwhelming majority of your movement should be in that low to moderate intensity. And this is really, listen, our demographic is over the age of 30. So when I make that generalization, that's who I'm speaking to is the over 30 crowd. But that's generally where you should kind of operate in with, maybe one or two workouts throughout the week where you get into that red zone where you feel like you're going to kind of puke a little bit, but really not more than that. I don't think that the general population should have more than two workouts a week on a regular basis where they're high intensity like that. I think you get into a really kind of choppy area as far as injuries or possibilities of injuries and a diminishing return on your performance when you start to exceed that amount. And you've got a day job where you're going 9 to 5 to an office or anything like that. And even if your day job is physical, unless you're an amateur competitor or something like that, I don't really see the reason for anybody doing more than two intense workouts in a 7-day time period. I've seen it so many times, even with my own fitness, where it's like you may last 4 or 5 times a week doing high intensity interval training for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, but it's not a matter of if you're going to get hurt or it's just a matter of when in those scenarios. And it happens 100% of the time where somebody's, oh, I'm fine, I feel great, and all of a sudden, they're out for 6 months because they ripped their back apart. And then they're scratching their head and going, I don't know how this happened. And it's because nobody pulled the reins back on them, and that's the coach's fault. Listen, it happens at a sport level too, right? Where it's like, if you see a linebacker blow his knees out and nobody touched him, there's an athletic training coach that just got fired. Trust me. So it's the same thing the other way around when it comes to clients. Like, if you allow your client to go 5-6 days a week doing high intensity interval training without you saying anything about it, and you're like, yeah, that's fine, that's totally fine, and they blow out your back, that's the coach's fault. There should have been some guidance there. Now, listen, I have tons of clients that will listen to my advice and they will not take it. I just make sure that my side of the street is clean. And I go, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. You can do it. You're an adult. But as a fair warning, in my experience, you're going to run into a wall eventually if you continue along this path. And listen, sometimes people will take my advice and they're great with it, and other times it's not. I can tell you from my own personal thing, when I've been doing my own, and you've seen me, go through tons of injuries over the years, is I'm stubborn. I still believe that I'm 18 years old and able to do these intense workouts. And it's taking me quite a large amount of injuries for me to just get the picture where it's like, you get 2 a week. You get 2 a week. That's it. You want to go to 3 and you go to 4, you're going to pay for it. You're going to be on.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why the MyZone or a heart rate monitor is so important, because in the absence of having that clear data, it's really hard to determine what is high intensity, what's moderate, and what's low intensity. But I would agree with you. I feel like twice a week of high intensity, and then really, and listen, this is also coming from a guy who used to do 5 or 6 days of high intensity training a week, because I was just in that kind of beast mode mindset, but I think that like two workouts a week of high intensity. And when I'm talking about high intensity, I'm talking about 85 to 100% heart rate maximum. So like 85 to 100, right. Maybe like 2 days a week. And then I think 2 to 3 days a week ish of somewhere like 70 to 85%, kind of the moderate range. Mm-hmm. And then a couple days a week of just, 50 to 70% heart rate zone, where it's kind of gentle movement, mobility based walking. And I always kind of go back, I always kind of refer back to evolutionary science. If we take a look at how we evolved over millions of years as a species, the majority of what we did on a regular basis was lower to moderate intensity. It was walking. We did a lot of walking for foraging. And then we would run when we needed to hunt. And then when it was time to kill or be killed, that's when we did the high intensity stuff. So really, I think the majority of what we do should be in the low to moderate range, with a couple days of kind of purposeful high intensity, because we do have to, if we want our body to to adapt, if we want to force an adaptive response and get stronger and get more conditioned and all of that stuff, we do have to take ourselves into uncomfortable territory. But
Right.
you don't want to live there. You
No.
don't want to live there, because that's where your body's going to break down. You have to have ample time to recover.
Listen, my Sunday kettlebell workout is a perfect example of that. Hour workout, 30 minutes. I'm barely out of that blue zone. I'm 60, just getting into the 70% range for 30 minutes. For 30 minutes like that. And then the next 10 to 15 minutes, I start to ramp it up a little bit, and we start getting into like the green and yellow, 75 to 85%. And then the last 10 minutes is those speckles of red, right? And that's my high intensity day. That is not that. So when you say high intensity days twice a week, that's not living in the 95% zone
Right.
of heart rate for 45 minutes.
You're touching it.
I'm touching it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where I live, 1 to 2 times a week, is that style of workout. And I got to tell you, that was one of the more remarkable things when I started kettlebell training, is I have gotten super strong doing that kind of format, where it's just like, it almost resembles the same way, we did for millions of years, where it's like you're walking for 10 to 12 miles a day, you're foraging. When it comes to that attack point might last 10, 15 seconds.
Right. That's when you run and hunt, and then boom, 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 boom for 40 seconds. That's your high intensity exercise. Kill or be killed,
Kill or be killed. And listen, twice a week of that type of training has gotten me 10 times stronger training with that idea than what I did in my early 20s, which is, this linear kind of, if I did 150 pounds on the bench press on Monday, next Monday it was 170, and then and then 200, and then 250, and it was just linear. There was no methodology as
periodization or anything like that.
Yeah, it was just, I'm just going to go. Wheels fall off, and the wheels did fall off.
Yeah.
And I would hit walls that would prevent me getting that strength that I was looking for. And it wasn't till kettlebell training that somebody sat back and be like, no. The way to strength is not this way. It's actually going down and then poking up.
Poking up. That is very, very consistent with human evolution. That's very much the way that we do things. And also, I will point out that right now, under the current circumstances, I'm really only doing like one intense workout a week. And then the rest of it is moderate and gentle. And that's just because, even though I'm rolling with the punches pretty well here, I think everybody has a higher baseline stress level right now. I think just the kind of the total overall biological stress that we're all feeling right now is elevated. And I don't think that the way to treat that responsibly is to throw more biological stress on by doing a lot of high intensity exercise. So I think it's a really good idea to vary it, and our bodies adapted to different levels of physical intensity, and our bodies benefit from different levels of intensity, and different benefits exist at each different range of intensity. So for people out there, I highly recommend, whether you get a MyZone belt or a Polar heart rate monitor or whatever, to get a chest strap heart rate monitor, not a wrist one, but something that you wear around your chest, so that you really have the data that you need to determine whether or not, what range you're in every time you're working out. because you might be over or underestimating it. There are times when I'm like, I must be at 98% and I'm not close. And there are times when I'm feeling relatively comfortable and I'm at the upper reaches. So you can't necessarily always rely on body feel. Body feel is an important aspect of it, but it's always good to back that up with some good data.
So here's a question: with you doing only one intense now workout a week, have you felt strength losses or gains, or have you just kind of leveled out? Is this style of training better for you now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I've actually had a little bit of strength loss, I would say, and lean tissue loss, but part of that is because I'm not driving in to the gyms to do strength training multiple times a week. And so a lot of what I'm doing is more cardio and endurance based and full body conditioning. So I'm lacking significant, as much strength training as I would normally do. So that I think is more the reason why I've lost some strength and lean tissue, which if I was just to reverse that and increase up, add one more day of real strength training, I think I would balance that out. Right. But yeah, I think I've had some strength and lean tissue losses just because of the methodology change. It's not necessarily an issue of intensity as much as it is an issue of methodology. Because, if I run, which I do 2 to 3 times a week, if I run and I get an intense workout, and even if I do calisthenics and stuff, body weight exercises, it's not the same thing as doing a real focused, concentrated, heavy strength training session.
Right. Because listen, I've found that definitely I'm going more of the relaxed route throughout the week with 1 or 2 high intensity workouts, and that's actually made me feel pretty good.
Yeah, well, I feel good, but I feel a little bit less strong.
Well, listen, hey, I'm going to preface that my younger self if I was in this situation with high stress like this, I would be trying to kill myself in my workouts. And I think if I would have done that this time around at 40 years old, I would have wrecked my back by now. But, because I think I've gone through more of like the relaxing part, slowing things down, really appreciating what I have and what's going on and being present and putting in those type of practices. I feel from an injury standpoint, like the best I've felt in years.
Yeah.
Shoulders don't hurt. My back doesn't hurt. My knees don't hurt. I'm injury free for
right.
a long time.
And I think that's smart and that's sensible. And that comes with a little bit of wisdom, which comes with a little bit of age. Right. So you're just naturally more resilient when you're in your 20s and in your 30s, especially your earlier 30s. And then just the miles add up after a while, even if you're conscientious in how you move and all of that, the miles just kind of add up and you're just more susceptible to injury if you continue to train at high levels of intensity frequently. And I'm 50. And so I feel great. But I'm also aware that at this stage in my life, my body needs more gentle exercise, more moderate level exercise, less high intensity exercise than I used to do. I've come to grips with the fact that I'm not going to qualify for the Olympics. I'm very likely not going to be a world champion anything. And so really it's about making sure that my body is physically fit enough to be able to manage any reasonable physical demand that I come across in my life. Reasonable physical demand is the key term there. And that for me might be carrying sacks of stone in my backyard. It might be helping somebody move a couch, it's not doing a triathlon. It's not a reasonable physical demand for me. So I'm not prepared for that. But I just never want to watch from the sidelines because I've injured myself and I've broken my body. And I've been fortunate enough in 50 years, knock on wood, to not have sustained any sort of significant injury or have to have some sort of, surgery. So I want to keep that trend going. And so I think that, if you slow it down a little bit, you're going to have more good days. And in the end, that's going to matter more than speeding it up, feeling like a superstar, getting injured, and having to take 6 to 9 months off.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks.
It's not just hard for you physically, but it's mentally, and it's incapacitating. It's just, you get depressed. You get depressed.
Yeah, listen, I've been there several times, and you've seen me go through my injuries and different things like that. And listen, it's taken me a long time to basically slow things down a little bit. That doesn't mean that I can't enjoy the things that I like enjoying, like jujitsu and going to run or a mud run or even mountain biking for that matter.
For sure.
It just means that I have to do less of it.
Yeah, and you've got to be more intelligent in how you approach it, and allow your body more time to recover in between.
Right. Exactly. That's the perfect way of saying it. It's just, you got to be more intelligent about it so that you can enjoy those things that you enjoy doing for longer.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, moving a couch for somebody is not fun.
And also really not something that I should have to do anymore. I'm 50.
No.
I've done my time moving couches for buddies.
Listen,
but I want to be able to.
That's my point, right? What sucks more is being able to have to put your tail between your legs and go, you know what, dude, I can't help you with that dresser. I can't help you with that couch. Not because I don't have time. It's because I physically can't.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. Most of my friends, my social friends outside of the gym, are 50 to 65 years old.
Careful.
And wonderful, wonderful, love them to death. But I really only have a couple people out of that group of people that I could call on to move a couch if I needed to, because too many of them have broken bodies and injuries. And I got to tell you, you don't have to be that way. You don't have to be that way now there are obviously, car accidents and chronic disease and things like that are out of your control. But, we have a lot of control over our bodily health. And if we approach it intelligently, I think I want to be 70 years old and still able to move a couch. I will be very pissed if one of my friends at 70 years old is still making me move a couch, but I want to be able to at 70 years old. So.
Right.
All right. We've gone on for a long time. It's 12:58. It's been 58 minutes. I think this is plenty for today. That's it. Nice haircut.
Thank you.
And we will be back again next week. We'll have the outline of the events that we're having next week. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., you've got Stacy Garcia doing a core workout, and at 12 p.m., Stacy's going to be doing a nutrition discussion. Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, you get Will Garcia doing an interval training workout. Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, you've got Joe doing his kettlebell workout that he talked about today. And we'll have some guests next week as well. So
we actually got Yaron Peters. He's going to be talking to me about physical therapy and the future of physical therapy and how that kind of is going to turn out for them and the steps that they're taking to protect their patients and their clients over at their clinic in PT West in Woodland Hills. So
awesome. So that's Tuesday at 12 o'clock, right?
That actually will be the 30th at 12 o'clock. We're going to switch things around a little bit.
Okay, so that's Thursday.
Yep.
Okay, cool. But we've got some other people lined up too that we'll let you know about soon. So thank you guys for your support and for watching. Good talk, Joe. We'll talk again soon.
All right, brother. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.